Hello again, everybody. I have a video for you today on how to adjust the Ubuntu Dock. The Ubuntu Dock is a pre-installed GNOME extension. It is a package in the repository that comes installed by default. This is a little different than the standard way of installing GNOME extensions. Not unusual, but it is a little different. Most users would probably go to the GNOME extensions website. So if I look for that here. Now on Ubuntu by default, you have to install a few things. So the first is the browser extension itself. And then if we refresh the page, it's going to tell us that we also need to install on Ubuntu Chrome GNOME shell. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, if I come back now and refresh one more time, now I'm able to install extensions from this website, also manage the extensions I have. The other way I would do that is by installing the tweaks tool. And if I were to run that now, there's a section for extensions, and I can see the extensions that are installed. I'm running Ubuntu 2004 Focal Fossa, just doing some testing and things like that. GNOME 336, which is in Ubuntu 2004, has an extensions application built in. And it does show some of the extensions, but you notice here that it doesn't show the dock. So I have to do some more testing on this. I'm not exactly sure what the criteria is for something to show up here. But you notice that it's not there. And the extension that shows up under tweaks for Ubuntu Dock doesn't have any options here. The options for Ubuntu Dock are under settings and appearance. They have three different settings here. You can auto hide the dock, which means that when you get something close to it, it will go away. You can adjust the icon size, which I normally do, turn that down to about 40. Just makes it a little smaller, takes up a little less room, gives you some more room for saving some more icons in there or programs that are open and using the dock. The other option is the position on the screen. So you have the option of moving that around if you'd like. But there are other options that I normally will use that are not present here. Now, Ubuntu Dock is a fork of the Dash to Dock extension. And Dash to Dock, if you've used it, has quite a few options under their configuration UI. So if I were to switch over to, let's say, Manjaro, which is using Dash to Dock, and I right-click on Show Applications, Dash to Dock Settings, there are quite a few options in here that I can set. Normally under Dash to Dock, one of the things that I will set is the click behavior. So what I prefer to have set, and I've already set this here, this is not the default. The default is usually, I believe, I'm really not sure, honestly. I don't remember now, but I like this minimize or show previews. And basically what that does is when you click on the icon, it will minimize to the tray. If there's more than one of something open, it will show you a preview that you can select from. There are a few other options in here I like to set as well, but I really don't have to go through all of those. These are really personal preference. And if you've used Dash to Dock, you've likely come in and made some of these changes. So let me jump back to Ubuntu. And I want to make that change that you just saw where if I click on something, it will minimize. By default, you see here, I'm clicking and it doesn't do anything. And I'd really prefer that to minimize. So how do I get to those settings since they aren't here in the appearance settings? They're not here in extensions under tweaks. The way you do that, or at least the way I do it, is to install dconf-editor. Oops. All right, so once dconf-editor is installed, you can open that up, and it will tell you that you can break your system by changing things in here, so to be careful, and I promise I'll be careful. Let's go ahead and make this a little bigger. Now the extension settings for dash-to-dock are under org, GNOME, shell, extensions, and dash-to-dock. Now, you see this is quite a bit different from the UI we saw on Manjaro, which isn't specific to Manjaro. Again, that's just specific to dash-to-dock. Because Ubuntu has forked it, we now need to come in this way to get to those same settings. Most of these are fairly straightforward in terms of their naming convention. You can kind of figure out what they do just by what they're named. The one I'm looking for is click action. So if I go in here, I want to unselect use default value, and then you see I have the same exact options I had in the dash-to-dock UI. I just have to select from a list here. So the preference was minimize or previews. So I'll set that and apply. And now you see if I click the icon, things will go back to the dock. If there are more than one of the same thing, then I can click and see a preview, select the one I want. I can also close from here. And then again, click and minimize. So that's the behavior I prefer. There are a lot of other settings in here that you can change depending on your preferences. Again, if you're coming from using dash-to-dock as just the extension itself and having access to all those features and settings, then you may already know what those options are. I'll cover a few extra little things. These are, again, just preference, more or less just to reinforce what I just showed and demonstrate a couple more settings. So one of the ones I like is I don't really want to show the mounted volumes. So if you plug in a USB thumb drive or a USB drive, if you have a network drive mounted, you will see additional icons in the dock that will show those mounts and then let you interact with them. Some people really like that, I'm sure. For me, because my dock is already so busy, normally I have quite a few programs already saved as favorites there that are taking up space. If I then open other things, they will take up too much room. And so I really don't need to see mounts there. I'm going to go ahead and disable that. One of the other things that I'm not a huge fan of is the default behavior of switching workspaces when you scroll. So I will usually disable that as well. The last one I like to set is icon fixed size. And what that will do is as you have more and more things open, so let me just demonstrate that quickly. Well, some of these are bad choices because they are already saved as favorites. So let me just open some more Office. And maybe Shotwell. So what you see is that the icons are filling up along the side here. What happens when I get to a full list is you see now how they sort of tuck themselves down and then you have this scrolling effect. I'm not a huge fan of that. So if I come back to dconf-editor and I uncheck fixed size, you see what happened there is that they now will shrink down in size to fit themselves automatically within that space. That's my preference. I just prefer to see all the icons at once, and I'd rather have it be dynamically resized like that. So if I come back and start closing things, you will see that they will get larger again when the space exists to increase the size of the icon. So there are lots and lots and lots of options in here. And like I said, most of them are pretty straightforward if you look at them and can just discern what they mean. And I haven't really been able to break anything by changing settings in here, although I haven't changed every single one or changed every value. So you could possibly mess up your system doing this. But for my purposes, changing the few that I do lets me customize the dock the way I want it to and still retain all of the settings that are available. Opened a bunch of windows there. And still retain the settings here that if I still want to turn on auto hide, that will still work. And if I want to change the position or change the icon sizes, all of these settings, the three that are here, will still work. But I was also able to then customize those few things that I wanted to change. Now you could ask yourself, why don't I just install -to-dock and uninstall Ubuntu Dock? You can certainly do that. There's no reason you can't, but keep in mind these options will then no longer function for -to-dock. So if that doesn't matter to you, and honestly it really doesn't because you still have access to these same settings under the -to-dock UI whenever you right click and choose settings, you can certainly go that route, and I have in the past. I just feel like this is more of a straightforward, clean way. I'm not changing so many things that I feel like it warrants ripping out Ubuntu Dock and adding in a different extension. So there you have it. That's a quick way to make some small tweaks, or many tweaks if you prefer, to the Ubuntu Dock itself. Hopefully this is something that helps you make those couple changes and not have to rip out the dock and replace it with -to-dock. And if you have any questions, comments, if you have a better way of doing this, maybe I am not aware of, feel free to leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. With that, I'm going to say have a great day, and I'll see you again in the next video. Take care.